So today what we're doing is it's kind of to set the table for our conversation. The Cornell Center for Advanced Human Resource Studies recently, I think, culminated a 5-year study, an assessment of industry best practices. That's a long stretch there. What did you learn over that? What was the purpose? What were your objectives?
So the idea here is, during my time running CAHRS, I got to interact with lots of chief HR officers from many of the Fortune 200, 250 companies globally. And so as I was traveling around meeting with companies, we started to really talk about this issue of how much HR is different than it was even 10 years ago, right?
Yes,
the landscape has changed tremendously in terms of the function, what we do, what's expected of us. More and more work, we think, in HR is going to continue to get automated because of advancements in AI, advancements in robotics and chatbots and so on. So a lot of HR is going to kind of change in terms of what happens. What we really want to get down to is what's the core of what's really going to be HR, what HR leaders do.
Yeah.
And it led us to this study, and it took 5 years, mostly because it took 5 years to get some agreement on where the world was going, let alone where we are today.
Right.
And so it really led to this idea of, the HR leader of today and going forward, what do they really do? And we came up with this study instead of findings. It said really the modern HR leader today, and we think through the next 5 or 10 years, really should be focused on 5 main buckets, right? And so we've got this chart that kind of summarizes this idea of what HR leaders do. Part of it is this idea of HR leaders today and going forward are really going to be part of this idea of strategy, execution, and development. These HR leaders need to have a voice in the strategy, the business, where the organization's trying to go. Then they have to help think through how do we create the resources, whether that's people resources, physical resources, that actually help us achieve that strategy. The second big bucket, which I think HR has always done, is really help think about how do we create the right culture, the right climate. So climate really being about the local culture and how that plays out in a context of an office setting or a department or a division. Culture being the big kind of
all the way up to values.
Values of the organization. Third role is really what I see as increasingly important is this ability to coach and advise senior leaders.
Right.
As we ask leaders to actually lead and not just be managers, to actually lead people, motivate and engage their own team. What our role is to help create that in those leaders, to help them become better coaches. Fourth part is really, again, around the talent part of how do we make sure we've got the long-term talent we need, not just to drive strategy today, but moving forward. And then the fifth big bucket is really around, driving and supporting org change, right? As the economy keeps moving, technologies keep changing, we got to continuously change and update our organizations, and HR plays a key role in that. And so from that, part of what also took the time is then think about underneath those roles and responsibilities, what are the key capabilities? None of these are probably super surprising to the audience, right? We think that people in HR have to have great technical expertise in HR, right? They have to know the functions and how they work. We certainly expect them to have good business acumen. If you're going to be part of this strategy setting, you have to know how does the business make money? How's the economy changing? How do we market to customers? What's the supply chain look like? You also have to be a great general leader, like how to lead your own team. So can you set a vision? Can you do performance management? Can you do project management? But the big bucket in that bottom left, the green box, is where we really think distinguishes great HR leaders. And that's people who have courage, people that really understand, how to build relationships, how to influence, how to manage and kind of tamp out bad politics within organizations, how to drive change, how to coach, right? And really how to think through how to do this strategically from a consulting perspective to really see root problems and solutions to those root problems. So that's where we've really focused our efforts lately, both in revising the curriculum on campus, revising curriculum that we've created through Cornell courses, but also thinking about going forward, how do we build those kind of left box or bottom left box characteristics in leaders for kind of moving forward as a function.